Hello, 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 everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We're on the Ask the Expert. I'm Dr. G. I usually at least come on and do two Zoom events per month on behalf of my goal and our Haven International team. I am so happy you're here. If you're watching us later, thank you so much for tuning in. And this program I'm excited about because it's with one of my absolutely favorite providers who's also a very instrumental person in even our son Nicholas's life. Rebecca was Nicholas's BCBA, and beyond just that, she's just an amazing human being who has been a cool member of the team. And I say cool because truly creative and innovative, part of the our Haven International team. She's a member of the advisory board. But beyond just that, just someone who has seen the value add in terms of families connecting, people coming together, walking the journey together. So we actually partner together with Limitless Behavioral Services to do our social hour live, where we meet up at the diner. And I'm sorry if you're in another state and you can join us. You can always come over to New Jersey. So we meet at a diner and we just get to connect and meet each other and share information. I think the key point here in journeying when you have a young person that you're caring for, or maybe an adult, and they need extra attention, they need extra support. We as caregivers also need that support and encouragement. We are reminded that in life, and I was just sharing that recently at a program that I was doing, at one point or the other, we're all going to be caregivers for someone that we love who may need that maybe they had a health concern and they need support in a home. You're a caregiver at that point. And it's so easy to enter into the caregiver fatigue mode. And so it's important that you are on a journey with others, you're in community. And I think that's really what I want to emphasize, community. So here it is, you have a provider who has families that she provides supports their loved ones and instruction and sees the value of bringing people together. Reach out and say, hey, why don't we do something together? And so I'm so grateful for Limitless Behavioral Services and Rebecca Zegas for really, really, really opening your heart to support young people and their families. And anytime we think about topics, I recently had an opportunity to go to her facility when my team from Haven was here. And while we're there, we just see the work that's being done with social skills. And, I've been beneficiary when Nicholas was getting social skills work. And so to have somebody talk about that, really, really important. So today's topic is Ask the Expert. In a few weeks, we're going to be doing our empowerment moment. So a lot of what I'm going to say, I'm going to be more quiet. I might ask questions here and there because, just for my friend. But the goal here is that if you're watching us later, do share the information because there are some individuals that really they might have some challenges in terms of how to socialize or connect. And all of us at one point or the other may have challenges with even public speaking or really saying hello. As extroverted as it may seem that I am, I believe that I'm an introvert extrovert. My family disagrees, but I say I'm an introvert. And the reason why I can say that, and Rebecca, when you come on, you can agree with me because I am an introvert in some way. And the reason why I say that is when I go to social events, if I know people already, it's fine. But if I don't, it actually takes a lot for me to think about how am I going to start that conversation? And when I find my tribe or when I find the people I'm comfortable with, you probably find me staying there the whole time. I just the whole idea of going around and really Patricia's in the Zoom room and she said for real. It's it seemed like paradoxical or it seems weird, but truly it's like it takes a lot. It's easier for me to talk in front of a big audience because in the big audience, I don't have to do the chit-chatting, right? But in a small audience, in one-on-one, it's like, how do you even start the conversation? And interestingly, my daughter's son is actually better at it than I am. She's like, oh, we go to these happy hours. And I'm sitting here like, you will rarely see me at a happy hour. Why? Because I have to just think about, okay, well, how do I really engage? And I know it sounds weird, but if I feel that way, And people are saying that, Senna just posted, she goes, I have to be mentally prepared for happy hours. So the point here is a socialization. It's not as simple as it may seem. And maybe some people it's like that, but hopefully someone is hearing me like for real. Yeah, I struggled. And yes, I overcome it. And if I have to, but just how can you imagine our loved ones who really, really, this is a handicap? Like they will rather not interact with people at all than try to get out there. And so this is what made me think about when we think about individuals on autism spectrum who have been diagnosed. It's a spectrum of a disorder, right? And for some individuals, now we call it neurodivergence. And the idea here is that sometimes people are fine in every other domain, but this one area. And we know as a society, we're called to interact with each other. We're called to inspire each other. We're called to pull in there. So at the beginning of the year, we thought it would be a really great topic. I don't think I've ever done this particular topic before on social skills and training. And so, of course, I reached out to the BCBA extraordinaire and asked her to be the presenter today. So I'm so excited to invite, you've seen her do topics for us before. And so she's going to do this one today, and she's going to present on social skills, what, why, and how. And she may throw questions in there. So if you're watching us on Facebook and you have questions, please do put that on there. We have a moderator that's going to be taking your questions. Please, please, please feel free to ask any question of Rebecca. So on that note, Rebecca, I want to welcome you again to being here on the Ask the Expert. Really, really appreciate your time. And as always, your family to us. And so I want to say welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. G. As always, it's wonderful to be a part of my goal in Haven and participating in these activities. I do love them. Dr. G had asked me to share a little bit about myself and Limitless before we pop in to the topic of the day. So I am a board certified behavior analyst, and I'm also a certified special education teacher. I have my master's in special education. I opened Limitless 11 years ago, almost to the day. We're very close. We opened in January, 11 years ago. And 6 years ago, we transitioned our services from home-based services to center-based services. And having center-based services allowed for us to have a place for people to come together. It was a place for parents to meet each other, even if just in the waiting room, at pickup, at drop-off. And it allowed for a place for us to finally work on those really important social skills that is tricky to work on when you're just working one-on-one with students in their homes. So it's been quite exciting watching our social skills programs grow and grow with a number of students that we are able to serve, but also watching our students grow. We have some students that started social skills with us when they were 4 or 5 and are now still with us at 14 and 15. Our programs grow with them to meet their needs. I strongly believe that we need to provide that continuum where we can continue to grow with our students. So you won't see, if you do reach out to Limitless, you won't see like we have a 6-week social skills session. Our services keep going as long as your child needs them and as long as you want them to continue to participate. There's always skills to work on, and we will talk about what those are in a little bit. But it's just been a really wonderful experience. We've gotten great feedback from parents, and it's currently one of our biggest programs. We have social skills groups every night of the week except Friday, and we have social skills groups on Saturday mornings. We have 5 or 6 groups running at the same time on Saturdays, 25 students, about 10 to 12 staff. So we've got a busy, busy Saturday morning with lots of fun and learning and some really cool stuff going on. So hopefully I could maybe see some of you one day. My email address is at the bottom of this slide. Please feel free to reach out at any point if you're looking for social skills groups or just any questions at all about applied behavior analysis or any of the services that we provide. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. Social skills training, what, why, and how? So the first thing I think we need to talk about is what are social skills? So it is such a broad topic. It is such a broad phrase that really encompasses so many different things. Generally speaking, social skills refer to the abilities and behaviors that enable us to effectively interact and communicate with others in various social situations. These skills encompass a wide range of interpersonal abilities that contribute to successful social interactions. While I was preparing this presentation, I was trying to find data on how many social interactions like the average child and the average adult has per day. There's not a lot of research on that, so I wasn't able to find a good number. I want data, I want a number. But if you just like think through your day, between the hours, if you want to pop an answer in the chat, between your work day, let's say, or between running errands on a Saturday, how many different social interactions do you think you have in that day? That could be talking to people, that could be saying thank you to someone who handed you a cart at the grocery store, asking for help, ordering at a restaurant. I mean, I think we can probably agree that when we're out in public and engaging with others, yeah, we are engaging in like at least 40 to 50 social interactions a day. A large part of our life, even if you consider yourself introverted, you have to engage in social interactions, even to get your daily day-to-day needs met. I know we all hate it, but some doctors' offices, you have to call to make an appointment as opposed to being able to make an appointment online. You might need to call other services to come out to your house, have people come fix different appliances, so you'll need to interact with them. So even if you don't consider yourself a person who's like a social butterfly, you still need to have a certain level of social skills really to have a meaningful independent life. So some of the skills that fall under the area of social skills is communication. So that's expressive communication, how you speak, how you communicate, and receptive communication. So that's your understanding of what other people are saying to you. Active listening. So you need to know how to listen and get the information that's important that that person is trying to share. Showing empathy is an important social skill that is oftentimes very difficult for some typical developing people and neurodivergent people. Being able to relate to others. Conflict resolution. We start group work when we're in school because you are likely going to be a part of a group, as you grow older in your work. Our students, children need to learn conflict resolution, even as simple as when someone takes your toy away from you, what do you do? Instead of hitting them, do you say, can I have it back? Do you tell an adult? So those conflict resolution skills really need to start at an early age. Teamwork. We have a lot of students that like sports, like video games, and all of those things require working with others. Flexibility, which I think is something that is difficult for a lot of people. We're not always going to be able to have things exactly our way. In our life, in work, in social situations. Maybe you pull up to Starbucks and they don't have almond milk, and that's the only milk you can have, and you get there, and how are you going to respond when the barista says, sorry, we're out of almond milk today? Nonverbal communication. What is your body language saying? What is your face saying? Are you able to read the nonverbal communication of other people? Some of our students might be hyper interested in certain topics that perhaps other people aren't. So if you're going on talking about trains or dinosaurs or maps or a specific sports team for minutes and minutes and minutes on end, are you able to notice those cues of the other person maybe getting a little bit bored, looking away, not engaging in that conversation with you? An important social skill is definitely respect. I think this is also very cultural. Each culture has different ways of showing respect, receiving respect. So it's important that we're also looking at the different cultures that we're working with, and considering those when looking at what the appropriate behaviors of respect are. Self-awareness. Are you aware of the way you interact with others? Are you aware of your behaviors during conversations? Are you monopolizing? Are you not responding? Are you able to kind of look inside and see how your behaviors might be affecting those that you're socializing with? And it's really important to teach our learners to be assertive. We want everyone should stick up for themselves. Everyone should feel the ability and have the skills to stand up for themselves when something is not happening the way it should. If they're being mistreated, if someone is trying to take advantage of them, we want to really encourage these skills of assertiveness to stand up for yourself. You don't have to say yes to everything a friend asks you to do. You can say, no, I don't think that sounds like a good idea, or just, no, I don't want to do it. And I think that's often something that we see some of our learners struggle with, this need to please because they so badly want to be part of the group. We have a lot of our older clients, especially, and when I say older, I say, early to mid-teens, they want friends. They want to be a part of a group. They maybe haven't gotten the skills yet and don't know how to do that, which then puts them at risk for maybe agreeing to do things that are unsafe or inappropriate, or simply doing things that they don't want to do because they so badly want that need to feel connected and included. There are some different social skills that we need to start with for our little learners, and these can start as early as 9-10 months. Joint attention is basically the skill of engaging in some type of attention-seeking activity with someone else. This could be something as simple as hide and seek, as simple as peekaboo, looking at a book together, maybe noticing that your child looks back at you and they want you to turn the page. So the very first step of social skills is to be able to have that joint attention with other people. Imitation is super important for children. Most typically developing children learn most of their early life skills through imitation. They see other people do it. They see it in videos. They see how other children are playing. They hear their parents talking, and they start to imitate those things. And that is not always a skill that comes naturally to those diagnosed with autism. So teaching imitation early on really helps the ability to gain social skills in the future, because imitation is a huge way that we can teach social skills. One of the first play skills that children usually get after isolated play, which is playing by themselves, is parallel play. Will two students or children sit next to each other, maybe play with the same set of materials, but they're not interacting with each other. So that's, the kiddos sitting in a sandbox together and building next to each other, each playing with different sets of train tracks, things like that. Cooperative play is when the children start to come together for a group or a common outcome. They're trying to work on something together. Something that another one of my BCBAs and I talk about a lot when we're looking at teaching social skills is using activities that are better when they're done not by yourself. They're better when they're done with other people. And that's kind of where the cooperative play comes in. You can probably build a much bigger tower when you're taking turns with a friend. You might be able to build Legos. One of your friends builds the house and you build the landscape, and then we can put it together for a really nice Lego model. So with cooperative play, the goal is that the outcome is better when you do it together. We of course need to take turn taking or teach turn taking. That can start simply as, okay, you have it for 2 minutes, and then you give it to a friend for 2 minutes, and then you get it for 2 minutes, and then you give it to a friend for 2 minutes. Once we've done that turn taking with simple items, we can move to simple turn taking games that don't really require much skill, but are just simple turn taking. The next thing that we would look at is imaginative play. This is the pretend play where we're having to use our cognitive and our communication skills to take different roles and play and pretend to be different people. This is when we might see students playing school. So someone's taken the role as the teacher, someone's the role as the student. Playing kitchen or playing restaurant. So there's a kitchen, there's a chef, and then some of the students are at the table and ordering food from the server. So it's just that imaginative play is taking roles. And I think that in particular can be very difficult because it also requires that skill of perspective taking. You're pretending to be someone you're not. It's not as concrete as some of the other skills. So that's definitely a tricky skill. And even with our early childhood kiddos, we want to look at starting some simple asking and answering questions. That doesn't fall in the lines as much of play, but it really falls in those beginning social skills. And when we're looking at social skills for our little clients, our younger clients, or our clients that have greater levels of need, we look at social skills in terms of safety and social skills in terms of being able to get their day-to-day needs met if someone isn't just going to be there. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So why teach social skills? As we've kind of already talked about, social skills play a significant role in personal success, academic success, professional success, and really help facilitate much more independence if our learners are able to develop those social skills. Social skills can support relationships that's within your family. That might be romantic relationships, friendships, academic success. As we've talked about, there's so much group work in school. Being able to ask for help if you don't understand something, asking for simple materials if you are asked to do a task but you don't have the things that you need. All of those fall under the social skills of learning to get your needs met, get the things you want and need. Career success, under that falls learning how to interview, learning how to fill out applications, learning how to advocate for yourself if you want a raise, learning how to call in sick if you're sick and it requires a phone call to your boss. How are you doing that? Overall, social support leads to increased independence. The more you can do for yourself, the more independent you will be. And having these social skills is a really important piece of being able to be independent. There's research to show that some of these social skills supports lead to a reduction in social anxiety. We've had some of our preteens and teenagers tell us that they want to have friends, they just don't know how to do that. And it makes them very anxious when walking into an environment because they know that maybe they're a little bit different. They don't know how to join in on that group. So we often see withdrawal instead because their social anxiety is so strong because they don't have the appropriate skills. With this teaching, we can help our students have a sense of belonging, finding groups that they're interested in, that share similar interests to be a part of. We talk a lot with our families of our social skills groups because we have a few different groups that focus on some different things, different leisure activities, different interests, that in order for social skills instruction to really be effective, we need to be teaching it in a way that the students are interested in topics the students are interested in, that they want to participate, something that they would likely do on their own, but now we're going to teach them how to do it with, same-aged peers. If you told me that I had to engage in social skills by playing on a basketball team, that would be really hard for me because I don't like to play basketball. I'm not good at basketball. So I'm going to be so much more stressed and so much more anxious about being in that environment, that engaging and learning social skills in that environment is going to be not of priority to me at that time. And I think it's the same for our learners. We really need to take their interests to grow their social skills. I touched on before, safety, I think, is one of the most important things we need to look at with social skills. We need to teach our learners to advocate for themselves. We need to teach them how, when they're younger, if they get lost, what do you do? Sometimes they won't have the ability to make those decisions. So we will teach them whenever anybody asks them their name, you can tell them your name. Whenever anybody asks, what's your mom's phone number? You can tell them her phone number. If you don't have vocal skills, we've taught students to keep an identification card somewhere on their body. And whenever anybody asks any of those questions, what's your name? Are you lost? What's your mom's phone number? The student would present that card. So that's a social skill. You're responding to someone's social bid and sharing information in whatever way you're able to that will help you maintain safety. And social skills support good physical and mental health. I think that it is important for all of our students to have the opportunities to engage with others at the level that they want and can. Another conversation that I have with a lot of our parents or parents of our clients is, just because the parent is an outgoing, extroverted social butterfly doesn't mean that their child has to be or wants to be. There are plenty of people that are introverted and plenty of people that don't want to participate in large gatherings, don't love doing things with other people. And I think we really need to respect that that is true for a percentage of people with autism as well. They, just because they have autism doesn't mean that they want to be social and just don't know how. That might not be of interest to everyone. So if we're seeing that that particular student isn't super interested in hanging out with other people, our goal is teaching the social skills to help that student be safe, have increased independence, and be successful in whatever their future holds. Those are the students that we are going to make sure can ask for things in the store if they can't find something, can make simple purchases, know how to advocate for themselves. It's social skills is more than just learning how to hang out and have fun with other people. And that's not of interest to everybody. How do you teach social skills? So the first thing you want to do is use assessments if you have access to them. And at the end, we'll talk about some of the available ones to identify the specific skills that you want to target that are age appropriate for your child or your student. So we have assessments that can do that. If you don't have access to an assessment, you can ask other people who have the same age children, hey, what kind of things is your child doing? What are they playing with? How do they answer these kinds of questions? If you have the opportunity to observe a group of students, maybe at a playground or a gym class or in a classroom, to see what types of social interactions those students are engaging in, it could give you a good starting point of the skills that you might want to work on with your child. You need to determine how you will teach that skill. And that is very, very dependent on the learner, their method of learning. And I think we need to remember that these are brand new skills to some of our students, just like teaching them to write, just like teaching them how to potty train, or teaching how to put together blocks. Even though we're working on social skills, we might need to teach those in a more isolated one-on-one situation with an adult or an instructor to really nail down those initial skills. So very simple, asking questions, answering questions, doing that in a discrete trial or an ABA method where we heavily reinforce the appropriate responses, We're practicing these in safe, structured settings where we are setting that student up for success. We are setting them up to learn. We're using cues, we're using visuals that might help them to participate in those activities. And once the student is able to show those skills, the ones that you have selected to target, in that structured setting with, one adult, maybe one adult and two children, then we look at generalizing it to the natural setting. So I might, for example, first start to teach a student how to play a simple turn-taking game just with me. And once they're able to do it with me, then we bring in another student. When they're able to do it with one other student, then maybe we'll go to a whole group and we'll have several kids play that game together. We want these early interactions with social skills to be positive for our students. So we don't want to nag them. We don't want to demand that they say certain things or do certain things or play in a certain way until we're able to see that they are actually able to do those things in more structured, comfortable, safe settings. Here are some examples of some of the things that we might work on teaching, those initial skills that we can look at. We've talked about some of these already. You want them to respond to their name. This is a really important safety social skill. If your child is downstairs playing and you're upstairs and you want to just check in, we want to teach that when you say, "Hey, Johnny," like, "What are you doing?" He'll say, "Oh, I'm playing." If you call their name, do they respond? If you say, "Hey, Johnny," will they say, "Yeah," or "What," or, respond in some way? We talked about teaching those joint attention activities, those activities that take two people's attention to participate in. Answering simple social questions, parallel play, turn taking, simple game play. Then we're going to look at cooperative play, move into that imaginative and pretend play. Important that we teach our students the social skills of asking for help. Unfortunately, I've encountered many students who might need help or might need something and will sit there until someone either just offers it, notices it, because the skill of asking for help isn't one that they've learned yet. So we need to set those up in situations where they have to ask for help at first. I might give somebody their favorite snack inside a container that they can't open. And in that moment, teaching them, "Oh, I need help." And then moving it to less structured, more natural environments where they need help. Seeking clarification. If they don't understand a direction, if they don't understand what somebody said, asking for them to clarify, asking for someone to repeat. And then as we move up in terms of skill level, we'll start working on multiple exchange conversations, staying on topic, collaborating and problem solving with peers, and those advanced social skills. Like we said, it's completely based on your individual student or child, how you're going to teach these social skills. It depends on age. It depends on the skill level when you start attempting to teach these skills. You could use a direct instruction, which is what I described before, where you're at the table, you're working one-on-one, and you're working on those very specific skills that you're then going to work to generalize into social settings. Modeling is a wonderful tool to use because when we model something, the goal is that our students imitate. So if we're working on something as simple as toy play, you could take a car and say, "Watch this, do what I do," and roll the car back and forth. They roll the car back and forth. We then teach them other actions to do with the car. We then go take the car in the playroom with the different cars and students that are in there. And then a couple of students together can work on showing all of those skills that they have learned how to play with a car. Role play, we use a lot with our older learners when we are practicing some more complex skills. So we may pair students up and give them scripts and have them role play, let's say conversation skills, and then have them identify which were appropriate skills, which which role play partner was not paying attention, which role play partner was monopolizing the conversation. So we do a lot of role play with our students that are able to really help them see and understand the different aspects of social skills that we're trying to help them strengthen, and the ones that might be deficits that don't allow them to access these social interactions as much as they'd like. Video models are a wonderful way to teach social skills. There are created video models that professionals have put out that show students playing, and then you would have your student imitate that. We can make your own. You can make a video model of playing with cars on a car track and then telling the students to go do it the same way. Even some children's cartoons and activities have great examples of language and play. So even using some of just the current cartoons and children's videos and shows that are out that have appropriate communication and play skills being modeled are great ways for your child to learn. You have to decide how you're going to prompt these social interactions. Some of our students are able to read, so we could maybe use written cues as prompts. We can use visual cues like photos. So here's a ring of cards that show all of the things you can do with these cards with your friend. We were working on conversation skills with one of our pairs of students, and they had a ring of cards that just had different questions or phrases on it. And as they were playing, they would just flip through their cards, ask the peer the question, get the response, then have the reciprocal question. So it was a way for the adults to step back and not constantly provide those verbal prompts where the adult wasn't saying, ask him this, ask him that, say this, say that. We were able to use those written cues. You can use scripts where you actually teach specific phrases to say, specific things to say while you're playing. Something that I think is so important is, when possible, to utilize typical peers. We love having either staff's children or some of our clients typically developing siblings come in and participate in our social skills groups to have those typical peer models. Again, students often learn by watching others. And it's also important for us as the practitioners and the caregivers and the adults to really have a good understanding of what typical children that age are doing and how they're interacting, so we can make sure that we are facilitating the most typical responses as possible and not expecting differently from our students that we would maybe expect from someone typical. And the environment that you are working in. Are you going to teach these things in a classroom? Are you teaching them on a playground? Are you teaching it at a restaurant? Are you going to role play those first, in a more controlled environment before you go out into the general environment or the public? So you need to have all of these things outlined and decided before you go ahead and move on with teaching your social skills. Here are some resources to share. I had mentioned earlier that it's important to use assessments when determining what social skills you're going to teach. The first two are assessments that purely and only assess social skills. The SRS-2 and the SSIS are both easily administered parent questionnaires. The Vineland is a much more thorough assessment that includes all aspects of functioning, but also has a social skills portion. The Essentials for Living is for your learners who have a little bit more need and may not be fully accessing the general environment, general public on their own as they get older. So these are your learners that probably will always be with a caregiver, will always need some additional support. But the Essentials for Living has skills in there that are assessed that will help them be as independent as possible in those areas. And it also has a social skills portion. The ABLES is a very, very time intensive assessment that needs to be done by a practitioner with the student. It covers all areas of functioning and skills, but also includes social skills. And then you have the VB map, which is another relatively time sensitive assessment or time intensive assessment, less so than the ABLES, but it's an assessment on verbal behavior, which is what the VB stands for, which assesses skills up to typically developing 4-year-olds. So this gives you a nice layout of what skills typically developing 4-year-olds up to 4-year-olds, it starts at age 0, should be engaging in. And you will see where your child or student has deficits and what skills you need to work on. There are so many social skills curriculums out on the market. You really need to do your due diligence and your research when looking at social skills curriculum. We don't use any one social skills curriculum at Limitless. We pull from a variety of different curriculi, and we pull from our understanding of child development and our understanding of what skills need to be taught, and teach them in a continuum. Some of the better curriculum are the peers curriculum for school-based professionals, but we've used it in our center. This is for students who are in grades 7 to 12. This covers some more of those complex teenage, preteen social skills, conversation skills, staying on topic, not being a conversation hog. It looks into student preference and interests and how to engage in social skills based on those. That one goes into phone conversations and texting and all of the other skills that you're typically developing 7th through 12th graders would be able to display, and really breaking it down into very, very easily attainable steps for our students to learn those different skills. Jed Baker is one of the biggest names in social skills. He has many, many curriculi and supports and resources out. He has a whole website, jedbaker.com. And one of his curriculi is called Social Skills Picture Book, and that goes through the whole lifespan of children, grades K through 12. The VB map is an assessment, but also comes with a curriculum that, based on the assessment, you are able to select which skills you need to work on, and it gives you a layout of how to work on those. And then also looking at other resources, such as Teachers Pay Teachers has some amazing social skills tools and activities, checking out YouTube. There are things that you can easily find at little to no cost to help support facilitating social skills instruction with your children. Here are just some photos of some of our friends, kind of ranging in different skills that we've seen displayed at our social skills groups. So on the left, we have our students learning how to play Twister. So they're following directions. They are making sure they're watching out for the other students and no one's, on top of each other. Learning how to win, how to lose, how to be a good loser, which is really tricky. Top picture on the right is just 2 of our friends who are just building a friendship and learning to be together. And our bottom picture on the right is some of our friends who are engaging in parallel play with the same set of toys. But as you can see, they all have their own characters. They're sitting near each other, but not interacting. So this is where I was hoping for some questions about social skills, teaching them what your child needs. Yeah, so I will open it up for questions.
Great, Rebecca. Wow, I've learned so much. No,
And I could probably go on for like 5 more hours about social skills.
I mean, it's like, okay, so my and I'm going to open it up to the rest of folks that are inside, and then Senna, if you could just watch out on Facebook if people have questions. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, you said something, the last one that's where I'm going to start for. You said how to be a loser. Of course, I don't even think I want to be a loser, but I think it's a very important point you just raised,
Yep.
because I think a lot of parents struggle and you have kids that because they're afraid of losing, never even try
Yep.
at all.
Yep.
Can you kind of give us an example of that? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So we will start teaching that in a controlled environment, one-on-one with an adult, with very simple chance activities. So rolling a dice. Okay, do you think it's going to be more or less than 3? And if they're wrong, teaching appropriate statements like, oh man, that stinks, or bummer, or maybe next time. And then highly, highly reinforcing those appropriate replacement behaviors that don't involve, flipping the table, throwing toys, having a meltdown about losing. So we start very simple with very simple back and forth things that you have the opportunity to either win or lose many times back to back so we can practice. The more practice you get, the better. Avoiding those things isn't going to help. With anything in ABA, the more practice, the better. So we might do something similar like that. We will teach one of our phrases in our social skills group is it's no big deal. And we reinforce hearing that phrase after someone loses something. And some of these skills that I'm sharing are for our learners that have a little more cognitive skills and vocal skills, but this isn't the last game of Uno that you're ever playing. So let's play again and maybe you'll win and maybe you won't, and it's not a big deal. But it's all about teaching the appropriate response and reinforcing that appropriate response in a much more controlled environment, and then working on generalizing it out to environments that you just don't have as much control over.
Wow, that's excellent. It's so important that parents start to leverage some of these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are on there, just put your questions in the chat if you don't want to ask directly. But okay, so I have this little theory,
Okay.
Rebecca, that
Mm-hmm.
we entered into a generation where people are sitting in a room and they're not talking, but they're playing games and they're texting each other.
Yep.
And we're seeing a plethora of folks come into the workplaces who just are uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
engaging. Are you starting to see that trend? And what do you, I mean, I know this was, for students and learners, but, for professionals out there, we're starting to see this as an issue. What ideas or thoughts can you give us in terms of how we begin to teach this? Because I think this is so crucial.
Right.
My youngest does not want to call. She
Right. Oh.
is
Mm-hmm.
petrified
Yep.
about making a phone call, like to
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody. So what would
Right.
you, that was one of my questions. So,
Yeah.
and then I have a series
I
of
mean, I'm probably not, my personal experience isn't great. Like I will choose a place that I can make an appointment online than having to call. I will personally pay the extra money to order a pizza on DoorDash than just calling a pizza place to have it delivered. But I think what it comes down to is if there is no other option, do they have the skills that they need to engage in? And what my experience has been in the field with at least students who have kind of gone through ABA therapy, social skills training, we often set higher expectations for our learners than what we see in the general population, whether good, bad, or indifferent. There's always been, which is kind of backing off a little bit now, but always this big pressure on eye contact and responding within a second that someone says something to you. But if you were to look at the general population, that's not how we all interact with each other. So what we really, really try to work with our students and our families on is what are those important skills that are going to help you be independent in whatever field or wherever your life is going to take you. I think the tricky part is Jen, the people that you're describing are likely mostly typically developing people, who are also struggling with these skills. So I think it's just about reframing for our learners, like if these are the things you want, these are the things you have to do. But I think that's true for typically developing people. Like if I really only wanted a pizza from this one pizza place that you can only call, I'm going to do it. I have the skills. It's the avoidance of it. So it's looking at what's important to you to engage in these skills that have become kind of uncomfortable for a lot of us.
Yeah, no, I was referring to your typical neurotypical, but it's
Mhm.
becoming an issue from I think it's going to be an epidemic because
Oh yeah.
just don't know how to even socialize and even that like appropriate social cues as
Right.
you mentioned. We're also starting to see individuals delay more and more and more. The diagnosis of developmental delays is on the rise.
Mhm.
And we're seeing that individuals, young people don't know how to engage. Are you starting to see that in your practice? And what are you telling families in terms of how they can apply what you're teaching here in the home?
So we we see it most with students that first come to us
Mm.
at age 9, 10. I we don't see these necessary significant delays with the students that we've been starting to teach at a very young age
Mm.
because it's just part of our instruction. Like our 18-month-olds are learning parallel play. They are learning to share toys. If that's not embedded from the beginning, that's when it becomes much harder to teach because the older you get, you get into your own habits, you are comfortable with the way that you are comfortable with your interactions, and it's often harder to teach these skills to older learners. What we do with all of our families is offer these supports outside of our center. Some of our social skills groups, we take on community outings. We might go to the mall, we might go apple picking, we might go out to eat. Our boys' social skills group, we sponsored a local baseball team, a little league team, and we would go to their games and we would root them on and then have pizza after the games with them. So I think it's really important to invite parents to participate in these things and see how we're doing it. I have one younger student who had a really, really hard time with sharing his toys, specifically with his cousins. So we set up a session at home. The cousins came over. We practiced the skills that we've been working on at the office, to help him tolerate other kids touching his toys. And then I got a message from mom the next week that she followed the procedures that we followed at their next family party, and there were no issues. So it's important for parents to help support and supplement these skills outside of the environments that we're teaching. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of these skills don't just on their own generalize to all other environments with all other people. Our students know that when I'm at Limitless with Miss Rebecca, these are the expectations. But of course, expectations at home are different as they should be. But it's really important for parents to follow through and support what we're doing. And we help support them by training them, showing them, supporting however we can in that environment as well.
Are these type of services covered by insurance? Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, um, I just think a number of people really need to engage this because I'm seeing parents who are yelling at their kids, like,
Yep.
why don't you go talk to that person? Or and from what you're describing, it sounds to me that as this is opportunity, if it's covered by insurance or even just basic skills that we can learn, we
Right.
can teach it in a more supportive way versus
Absolutely.
yelling at our kids. Can you just
Oh,
comment on
absolutely.
that?
Yep. So our services are covered by insurance if there is an autism diagnosis. Um,
Mm.
that's not our decision. That is the way insurance companies are currently funding the services. Our hope as a field is eventually our services can be covered with other diagnoses, because we all know that you don't have to have an autism diagnosis to struggle with some of these social skills. We do have students with other diagnoses. I've had students with no diagnosis at all, that they just need some supports in this area. So it is accessible for sure.
Great. I know I've monopolized the questions. Does anybody else have any questions for Rebecca? As we've mentioned, this is only one element of some of the work that she does, but it's just so fascinating to me. I can sit here and listen to it all day. Are there any other questions from anybody else? All right, cool. And I guess for okay, that's one, at least one person I will be able to put on the spot. I mean, Ronke, what is one takeaway that you as a parent, because I know that this is an area that's near dear to your heart, that you can take away from and share with others? Because I think, okay, she put a question. See, I knew if I call her out, she asked a question. She said, "Is social skills applicable to all children with autism, both verbal and nonverbal?"
Absolutely. And at Limitless, I think I had mentioned that we have the 5 or 6 different groups running on Saturdays, and those groups are all individualized. Well, they're separated by age, obviously, but then they're all individualized for any type of student to be able to participate in those groups. We have students that maybe they communicate with an AAC device, an iPad. We have one of our learners who is in 3 social skills groups a week, and he participates with PECS communication, so pictures communication. And we have some learners in our groups that at this time, either because they're newer to us or there have been some other barriers, that don't have a functional communication system at this time, which makes it difficult, but that absolutely does not stop us from teaching, responding when a peer asks you for something, following directions in a group to do a cooking activity. A lot of great social skills can be taught around cooking, and that doesn't require vocal communication. So there is absolutely the possibility to teach so many of these skills regardless of communication method.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ronke, for asking that question. I know that one of the key things that we as a society need to consider is how to let people know, regardless of communication abilities, people still need to be taught how to interact.
Mhm.
And that based on your answer that you're giving us, that's really one key thing that I take away from it. And if there's no other questions, are there any other questions for Rebecca?
Just to quickly go off what you just said, how to interact. Um, Learners who are verbal and nonverbal need to learn skills such as personal space, not grabbing things from other people. There's a huge piece of social skills that has nothing to do with communication. If there's 7 seats available in a movie theater, do you sit directly next to the one other person there? Or do you give some space? So there's so many social skills. Senna, I'll answer your question, but going out in the grocery store, paying attention to where other people are, not driving your cart into other people, not knocking people over, things like that. All of that falls under social skills, and none of that really involves communication. To answer Senna's goal is personally at Limitless, we encourage parents to do these things by doing it with them first. 2 weeks ago, I went with a family and their 4-year-old to TJ Maxx because mom loves shopping. And she said when they went before Christmas, she was sweating and dad was sweating and he was running around TJ Maxx and it was not enjoyable. And it's something she enjoys to do and she wanted to be able to do it with him. So we are taking baby steps. We first went for 10, 15 minutes. walked around. He loves fruit snacks. I cut fruits, like one fruit snack, into 5 or 6 pieces. And every minute or so that he was walking nicely, I just gave him a little fruit snack and said, "Hey, I love how you're walking so nicely." Our next step is going to be, letting mom kind of look at something, maybe try something on. And we need to start these social skills in the communities with our expectations set appropriately. So our first trip out to a restaurant shouldn't be to a fancy restaurant with a 5-course meal. Maybe it needs to be a fast food restaurant where we can go in, get what we want, maybe teach the learner to ask for what they want, sit down and go. You're not doing your huge weekend grocery shop for your family of 5 with your child the first time we go out and try it, if that's what's hard for them. So really doing baby steps to help everyone feel successful. We want the parents to feel empowered that they are able to do this and that the things I'm asking them to do are doable, or showing them to do. And taking the parents' feedback on, yeah, that's just not going to work for me. I can't do it that way. Okay, great. Let's find a way that you can and help it be successful. So good question, Senna.
Yeah, no, that was great. I think when you talk about the parents be having anxiety about going out because you know that individual may have trauma in the
Right.
story. And you talked about, the timing of the day even matters.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
So
Right. We
I
went to
think
TJ Maxx at 3 o'clock, not on a Saturday, not at night. You're not going grocery shopping on a Saturday. Right. Absolutely.
yeah, so I think these are all the intentionality there should be, something we should consider. I want to thank you. If there's no other questions, I really want to thank you for such an amazing presentation. I think we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from it, and just even the games that you have on there. Okay, now she has her hand up. Okay, Ronke, well, you have your hand up. Go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you, Rebecca, for the presentation. Yeah, so I want to follow up on the question on what Senna asked. So, what's your view about on play dates?
Mm.
I know a couple of parents, might decide to bring their kids together. And I know when you have a play date, it's something informal. So it's not like
Sure.
there's a curriculum that you have to follow. So
Right, of
what's your
course.
view on that?
So in order to make the most successful play dates without like having a therapist there, without there being like interventions in place, I think what's important is to make sure that there are things at the play date that all children that are present, that everyone at least has one thing that they like that they can play with, and that you're going in with the acknowledgement that it is okay if any of the children at any point step away and want to play by themselves for a little bit. Come back when they want, play by themselves, having things available in maybe different areas if they need a break away from that group. And I think it's what's the goal of the play date? Is the goal of the play date to teach play skills? Then we might need to approach it a little bit differently. If the goal of the play date is a way for maybe those parents to also get together, but you could only do it if your children are there. Maybe we have music on and we're doing a dance party. Things that aren't as scary, aren't as intense to have to participate in. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's just putting the pressure away a little bit, and knowing, okay, if I have to leave after 20 minutes because that's when it happens, then that's what we do to keep ourselves, in a good, safe mindset.
Awesome. Great question, Ranke, because I think that it's one opportunity that we all have. Like she said, for parents to get together while their kids are there and be mindful to bring a toy that your kid loves or will want to share. And even it sounds like then even prepping that child before they go and reminding them about these social cues, because sometimes it's going to be a disaster if you don't prep them in advance. So that's really, really great. We've seen less and less of those things happening. But then, of course, I've been out of the field for too long. My youngest is 18, so
No play dates anymore.
I don't think they would take me with them on their play date. We just want to say thank you again for that wonderful presentation. This is, I think, a must-watch video for those who watch it later. Share with your friends. We'll post this on our Facebook and during. We want to just remind folks that we have upcoming events that are coming up. And so if you want to project for me. We have an art club that we did last year. It's a special needs art club. One of our parent owns her own studio, Janelle Bell's Creative Arts. So it's a 6 week program. My goal subsidizes it, and she also subsidizes of it. So this is going to be every other week where you have it, and then the last day we do an art exhibition in tandem with autism, really kind of highlighting the month. So this is really, really exciting. People had fun with it. So definitely early bird registration. It's kind of weird promoting it on a late side, but it's going to start on Sunday the 21st. And so if you're interested, please let us know. I really love the opportunity for people to be creative. So we want to see folks come out. There's limited in terms of the number of people that we can take in the club because of the space. But if you're interested, definitely reach out to us, info@mygoolinc.org. You can email, and then the QR code is right there. You can scan it. And you really do sign up for it. I promise you it's going to be a great time because there's going to be a lot of different activities, including the painting and finger works and a lot of different. I'm not artistic in that way. Is there an age range? No, not at all. It spans the gamut. Last year we had a young, I think she was 22, who was there. So it goes all the way from any age that can join. So we want to make sure that, if different forms of expressions are there. So, and Senna just posted, great opportunity to practice social skills. Yay, absolutely. That perfect there and expressing. And you may never know how well your child will really love it. I know that it started off that we had the artist come to one of our holiday parties, and that's how this all morphed. So we're always looking for ways to really promote. So that's coming up. And also starting in February, we're working on it. Our grant program is going to start up again. So yeah, Rebecca, yes, smiling. We are working behind the scenes and we'll be sharing some information about that. My goal is just to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. So it's not just relegated to just autism, but in that way now the programming that we do. But when it comes to the grant program, that's specific to that population. So we check out back on our website, mygoolinc.org, for more information about that. We really want to continue to be a blessing as we can to as many people across the country. So that's really one of the ways that we have. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Empowerment Moment comes up. That's January 25th. It's a Thursday. We just come in and we're going to share. Yes, go on to the next page if you can. And of course, social, our live is going to be Saturday, December. Wow, I'm already advancing myself to December. Wow. Okay. I really enjoy the holidays. I want to get back into that. January 27th, Saturday, January 9:30 in the morning. Come out and hang out with us. We're really looking forward to. So this is a live picture of us. It just tells you, and the breakfast is amazing. It really, really is. So I want that we engage. We have brunch. We share. Content. So we really want to be able to continue some of this work. And so if you have any questions, please email us at info@mygoolinc.org. We really, really, really want to just continue to be a source of support and ideas. And if you have a topic that you think, I would want to learn more about, reach out to us. We'll find ways to get somebody who knows something about it to come and share that information with you. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you, Rebecca. This was amazing. I really, really, really appreciate you always being willing to be here and share and teach us so much. And we want to just welcome all the folks that came here today and joined in live in the room. Thank you so much. And really, the video will be posted on it's on our Facebook page. So please share that with everyone. Yeah, Micah, I'm glad that this information was informational. Let's be intentional. I think that's really the take-home message for me. Intentional about how we socialize.
Mhm.
And prepping for it. I actually teach, offline teach and people how to do mock interviews. People think you can just walk into an environment and talk about yourself. Somebody says, "Tell me more about yourself," and then they start telling you things that you're like, "Wow, did you even say that?" It's called an elevator pitch. You have to do that. You have to prep for it. So if we do that to go on interviews, how much more don't we have the need to teach our kids how to be socially appropriate? So once again, this topic was brought on because we saw the value and seeing it firsthand in her practice. So I want to say thank you again and hope that you learned something from it. Share, share, share. So one note, thank you everyone for being here. Have a fantastic evening and be safe out there and have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.